wellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today we have a really special podcast for you, an interview with a woman that we dearly love and admire and have both sought refuge from in various ways. Her name is Kirsten Wolfe, and she is an acupuncturist that specialises in women's health and fertility. So today we are talking about the fertile journey with Kirsten. Would you like to give a bio wrap up, Bridget?
Let's talk about Kirsten. So Kirsten Wolfe is the principal acupuncturist and director of Mornington Chinese medicine, as well as the founder of the Fertile Life method. She works closely with a team of acupuncturists that deliver expert care to couples trying to conceive. She has trained over 100 acupuncturists in the Fertile Life method and offers ongoing mentoring. She's been practicing for over 20 years and has solely focused on treatment of reproductive and women's health conditions such as infertility, both natural and IVF, pregnancy, pre-birth, labour and postnatal care for the past 13 years. This has allowed her to become one of Australia's leading Chinese medicine experts in the field of fertility.
So we will pop, you're about to hear the interview, and we will pop all links mentioned in the show notes, so in the description part of the podcast. And we'd love to remind you to jump onto nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe with your email address. So once a week we can shoot you off an email that has links to everything that's out in the world, and you can dive a little deeper where you'd like to.
We hope you enjoy this interview with Kirsten and also the personal story that we weave in on our own journeys with her. So welcome, Kirsten. It's so special to have you here on the podcast with us. Can you tell us about who you are and how you've come to this such important work in the world?
Well, I can share firstly why I do what I do. I have an absolute heartfelt passion for helping people achieve their dreams. And the people I work with are people that want children. So I do that through my practice. I also do that through my team that I've coached and trained in fertility. I also do that through teaching other acupuncturists how to treat fertility so they can then go help other people. So for me, it's to be of service. Yeah. And I got into acupuncture, now I'm feeling old, 22 years ago. I got really, really sick with carcinoma in situ, which is the stage before cervical cancer. And I have a very, very rebellious streak. And my mum wanted me to do Western medicine, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have the slash your cervix to take it. And I knew that that would make carrying a baby difficult and lots of other things. And my grandfather was a spiritual healer. So I went to him to ask his advice, and I tracked down a acupuncturist in Adelaide who could not speak English. So he used to take my pulse, and I drank raw herbs for 2 years. I kept having my pap smears every 6 months. And I also did a lot of self-development and working out why I created that in my body. And 2 years later, I got the all clear.
Wow.
And that inspired me to then go out and learn acupuncture and be able to be a facilitator for other people in their healing journey.
Why fertility specifically?
I think because of what I went through. Yeah. And I lost an ovary in the process. And, you know, when you graduate, as a practitioner, when you graduate, you attract a certain type of people. You know, you can graduate and think, I'm going to treat musculoskeletal. Like one of my first patients was a fertility patient. Yeah. And I used to, for the first 2 years, I used to do fertility and other general stuff. And then I would just attract fertility. And I've got such a passion for it now to help people that have been on a journey for 4 or 5 years and don't know what to do. And they've gone on the roller coaster of IVF, and to be able to help them and give them the hope to have children and then to see that child grow in them and get the cuddle at the end. There's nothing better in the world for me than that. Like I often say to people, if I won $1 million, I'd still go to work. Like it wouldn't stop me. It's my absolute passion.
It's so magic. I listen to you and I think about, who I was even when I first went to see you, which was, I think it must have been now nearly 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a long time that I've been seeing you, and I think about you're privy to a woman's unfolding, of self, because you have to face so much more of yourself when you lean into the pain of a fertility journey.
Yeah.
And what you have to shed of who you think you are.
Yeah.
And so I guess I wonder, for you, the Chinese medicine perspective around fertility, we can, as Western women particularly, look at it as such a narrow definition of what it is, what it means to be fertile and what is fertility, or it's my ability to have a baby. But I think in the Chinese medicine point of view, it's so much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so much more than that. It's about your whole body being in health. In Chinese medicine, they talk about you have to have strong kidney qi, and you also have to have a heart-uterus connection. So your heart has to be open enough to connect down to your uterus. So for a woman to have a period, her heart has to open. And so when women have PMS, their heart's closed. It's all contracted and that anger's there, and they can get clots and their blood's not good. So it's about the whole person. So not about just making the ovaries work and making them ovulate and having a baby. It's about addressing the whole health. We look at their lifestyle. We look at their emotions. We look how all their organs are functioning in their body. We look at their menstrual health a lot. Yeah, most women don't know what a normal period is. Yeah.
How do you know when a woman's heart is closed, and what would that look like in a spectrum?
That's a good question. I think I've been doing it for so long I don't think about it now. Yeah. I can do that. I just look at a patient and get a feeling. But if I was to break it down, it's when fertility is so consuming when you're going through it. And women get so out of their body. They're into, what do I have to do to have a baby? What's the next step? What's the next step? What am I not doing? Am I eating the right stuff? Am I stressing? Am I not stressing? And they're micromanaging their whole entire life instead of dropping into themselves and being a little bit gentler on themselves and sitting with the feeling and sitting with the pain of infertility. So instead of externalizing, you really have to learn to internalize. But it's a big job for some people.
And I guess we're in a culture that doesn't necessarily make that a safe thing. I mean, there's so many myriad ways to disconnect.
Yeah.
How do you broach that or talk about that with women?
I talk about it differently with every woman. Yeah, because it just depends on who's sitting.
Meet them where they're at.
I meet them where they're at and where their belief systems are and where their values are, because, no one's wrong in my world, and no one's beliefs wrong, and no one's values are wrong. So I just meet them where they are and take them where they're prepared to go. Yeah.
Do you meet resistance from them along the way?
Yes.
What does that look like?
I definitely meet resistance after the first consult if I say, so we're going to stop making a baby for a while. And I watch them close up.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean we're going to stop, Because we're taught that time's running out. Time is not running out for pregnancy unless you're like 46.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because that is a common thing. I'm 39, I'd have another baby, but I'm 39.
Yeah. So there's this whole...
And the geriatric pregnancy. I freaking hate that term.
Geriatric? I haven't heard of that.
That's the term in hospital. If you are over 36 or maybe it's 38 now, I can't remember which it is now, you become a geriatric pregnancy.
Oh my God.
Isn't that the most horrific
That's appalling.
term?
That's appalling.
It's
horrific.
So appalling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There's this thing going around that women run out of eggs.
Yeah.
It's such fucking bullshit.
Is it? Because my understanding is we're born with a certain number of eggs and that we can use them up.
No.
So tell me about that.
You are born with a certain number of eggs, and then when you reach puberty, you've got about 300,000. So
wow.
Do your maths. We ovulate once a month. Summer rest, so maybe you lose 10 a month. If you do your maths, you can't run out. Yeah. And then they've discovered on the outside of the ovaries are stem cells that make eggs.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So they're discovering all these things. So this whole thing of running out of eggs and AMH test, because they do a test to say your eggs are running out. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of it. Oh, but people wanting to freeze their eggs because their eggs,
I haven't heard
eggs
of
are running
that.
out. And
So there's a test called an AMH test. So they're testing a hormone that the follicles give off when they're coming up on the ovaries. So what it does is measures the hormone from the follicles coming up, but not from your actual primordial pool. So your egg pool, it doesn't count that. And this is what women don't understand. And they're being told, you've got no eggs.
wow.
So for me, the test is what it tells me is there's not enough chi and blood to the ovaries to bring enough of the follicles out of the primordial pool up.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So they might only have 1 or 2 follicles coming up instead of 7. So that's just we need some more blood flow, we need some more nutrients, and then the eggs come up. So if anyone can take anything away from this talk today is you don't run out of eggs.
That's a really important and beautiful point to make.
Yeah.
You never underestimate the ripples, right? You never know what that one sentence does for someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that really speaks to like you are whole, like you're not missing things.
No.
And I think that there's a real sense of, often lack that pervades women. The story of the fertility journey, which is not being enough as a woman if you're not able to have a baby or if you're having difficulties. But yet this totally flies in the face of that because it actually shows you actually have so much potential here.
So much potential. Yeah.
So what do you see is in the way from where their bodies are currently sitting to where you want their body to be for creating life?
A myriad of things.
Can you hit us with a few of those?
I can hit you with my number one thing, which is the sperm is shit. Yeah. And I have these women come in because, women, we're like, let's solve the problem. So they're doing all the things, they're trying to do all the things, and they come in with me and I haven't talked to them. They've got perfect periods. They've been BBT charting. That's perfect. Bloods are perfect. Everything's perfect. And I say, has anyone done a sperm test? No one's done a sperm test. Or husband's smoking, drinking. He's 50% of the story and it's left out so often. Yeah. So my first thing is always to get a sperm test. And I've been doing this for 18 years. In the last 8 years, it's declined so rapidly. Like the sperm morphology, which means the shape of the sperm has to be the right shape to enter the egg. I used to see it at 30%. Now I'm seeing it at 2%.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you want it to be?
For natural conception, 15%. Yeah. And we usually see it at 4%. So that means you've got a 5% chance of getting pregnant in 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So, the partner has to step up. Parenting's like hard enough. Yeah. You need your partner for parenting, but you need your partner to make a child as well. So I see that more often. I reckon in about 60 or 70% of my cases, that's the problem now. Whereas 15 years ago, sperm was great and we were fixing women. Yeah.
So what does it look like, in the case of, obviously you're saying to a woman, your partner needs to go and have a sperm test. And how much does that change the conversation for a woman too? Because she's almost like, hang on, maybe it's not just me. Maybe there's not something wrong with me now.
They still own it until you see the sperm test. And then it's generally me that has to explain the sperm test, or they've had a sperm test with the gynecologist or the IVF and no one's actually explained it to them. So I like to cite them and then I have to have the conversation, and most women break down. Wow. Like just completely break down because they were taking ownership that their fertility issues were entirely them and their wombs couldn't produce children. Wow. So most just they break.
So what does healing look like for men? Is it different to women? Do they need a heart prostate connection?
Yeah, they do. But for men it works differently. I don't treat men anymore. I find I've got Scott and Simon and they treat the guys. They speak a completely different language than us and it works really, really well. Yeah. So I kind of leave the men's business to them.
You just kind of hand it over.
And it's from a practitioner perspective, people will share more if they know your partner's not seeing them. Yeah. So a woman,
Yeah.
for me, I create such a safe space that I want her to express whatever's going on for her. I mean, often we have sex conversations, we have relationship conversations, we have all sorts of conversations about what's going on for them. And a lot of them say, you know, you're the only person I can talk to about this, because they don't want to talk to their friends, or some haven't even told their friends they're trying for babies.
Yeah.
It's such a silent thing, and it shouldn't be.
Do you think there's a lot of shame wrapped around the infertility journey?
Yeah, a bucket load of it.
Why do you think that
why
is?
is that?
I think because they believe they're failing as women. You know, we get taught at school, you know, you must be on the pill, you must use condoms because you'll fall pregnant like that. You know, we're not taught about our cycles. We're not taught about what our blood's supposed to be like and the ebb and flow of what it is to be a woman. So we expect we go off the pill and we get pregnant like that. That's what we were terrified as. I mean, I was terrified. Me too. As a teenager.
And that's so drummed into you.
So drummed into you that you can get pregnant anytime you cycle, not just when you ovulate. Like, you're terrified. And then, you know, you stop the pill and, you know, these women, they're like, I'm not getting pregnant. What's wrong with me?
I remember, I don't know if you know this book, but I was about 25 and I was reading this book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. And it was like, I can't believe I don't know this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, this is stuff that, you know, we should be teaching at coming of age.
Yeah.
Not like when you're on this journey of trying to get intentionally, you know, pregnant or, you know, whatever, you know, wherever I found myself at 25. I was just like, this is mind blowing. But yet this is not women's wisdom.
It's
Like,
not
that's
women's wisdom. No.
Anymore.
Yeah. I'm teaching 40-year-olds about their cycle, that they're not ovulating on day 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a myth.
So how do you work with opening up the heart and reintegrating the heart-womb connection?
I work with it on an unconscious level as well. I'm trained in NLP and hypnosis. So my languaging is designed in a way to open that up. And also the acupuncture does it. Like, when I teach acupuncture to acupuncture students, I say, acupuncture works, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, it works on such a deep level that sometimes no conversation needs to happen. And I can put needles in people and they'll burst into tears.
Yeah.
I had one lady, she came to me and I put needles in, and then 10 minutes later, she walked out the room with all her needles in, crying.
Oh, wow.
Because she hadn't cried in 15 years. Wow. So it's about opening what we call meridians, so energy lines. So it's about opening the energy line from the heart to the uterus via the Chong Mai, which is the reproductive meridian. So I use Chong Mai in all my treatments. I know it's a different language than Western medicine, but I have such a deep belief in acupuncture alone without anything else.
Where does that come from?
From healing myself. Yeah. Because I had an experience of it myself. I was like 19. I had no idea. Yeah, I had drinking like these, looked like someone had taken the earth from the forest and put it in a pot, and I used to drink it and have acupuncture, and he couldn't even speak English. Yeah, and it was the acupuncture that, you know, changed it, as well as, you know, my journey on discovering, you know, I was so rebellious and so angry at the world, and, you know, to become into myself through sweat lodges and learning, you know, how our brains work and how we are as women.
And now you see all of that fits into how you serve your clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more you know yourself, the better practitioner you are. Yeah. So you're not putting your own stuff onto other people. Yeah.
What do you think the definition of infertility is?
Oh, I can give you the Western medicine one.
Yeah, well, you can give me both. You can give me the Western and your own.
The Western medicine one used to be failure to conceive in 2 years, and then it turned to failure to conceive in 12 months, and now it's failure to conceive in 6 months.
Why have they changed that?
Probably because IVF's become a company. That's my belief.
Yeah.
There are amazing IVF doctors, like amazing, that do it for the love of it, but I have seen it turn into a money-making machine as well.
In what space of time do you think that's happened?
I don't know, maybe 15 years. Yeah.
How do you know if you're with a good IVF facility or a bad one? What's the experience that's different?
If the IVF specialist is doing the same protocol over and over and over again and not switching anything up
For multiple women or for the same woman?
for the same woman, that is not a good one. Yeah.
So theoretically, they're retesting, looking at results and shifting.
And it's shifting, just as I would as a practitioner. You know, if their chart's not changing, what am I not doing? What am I not seeing? Yeah.
And so why do you think acupuncture works well with IVF?
Maybe the IVF works because of the acupuncture.
Yes.
How many of your clients do you find that most that have come to you via the IVF route looking to support that? Or do you find a lot of people are still really committed to the natural fertility path?
It's half-half.
Yeah.
Some women, they need to do IVF. Like, you know, there's reasons why they need to do it. And I'm really not opposed to IVF at all. I think how fucking amazing is it that they can put an egg and sperm together,
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's
create
incredible.
life, and then freeze it. And then sometimes bring it out 2 years later
That's amazing.
and it turns into life again. I think that's just so
It is amazing.
incredible. And, you know, some couples and some women need that. I reckon half my practice is natural and half's IVF. And sometimes if people come to me for IVF, we take a break from IVF just to build the body back up, to re-look at the whole case and see if anything's been missed. Sometimes they get pregnant before they go back to IVF, or they go to IVF and get pregnant the first cycle. Yeah.
What is the difference in how you treat a woman that is pregnant versus a woman that is seeking to be pregnant?
In what way?
I don't know, I'm just interested.
Just interested.
Yeah. Do you see them differently? Do you find that you have a different type of client, or are there specific amazing things that you're doing in pregnancy versus to the body to get pregnant?
I would say 90% of my patients, they're the fertility that turns into the pregnancy. So my role doesn't change. Like, my role then becomes, because when someone gets pregnant that's gone through fertility, their automatic assumption is, I'm going to miscarry. And I often say to them, you know, people that get pregnant by accident, their automatic assumption is the baby's going to stay. I need to go get an abortion. Yeah. It's the mindset. So part of me is supporting them every week through that process and through that fear. And actually, you know, they're only going to be pregnant once, 2 or 3 times in their life, to enjoy that moment, not to like hold on to their 12 weeks till they get the magic clear. And then people that come to me that are already pregnant, they're my easy ones. Yeah. Because they're already in that, they're enjoying that, unless they've got morning sickness, and then they're like, it's chaos. But I think my role for pregnant women and fertility women is to hold space for them, really, more than anything, and to educate them.
Well, even myself, I'm thinking about so many conversations I've had with you over the course of my last 2 pregnancies. And I think I remember these moments of going, because I came to you after I had had a D&C with my 3rd pregnancy, and then you were like, we should just get pregnant this month. Why not? And I was like, how as a natural practitioner can you say that? No, I can't. It took me like 3 months post that going, no, I don't think I can. And you're going, it's really fine. I'm going, no, it's not. And then to, you know, go through, okay, I'm pregnant. Now what? Because I'm now terrified of losing this baby.
Yeah.
And to have these workshopped moments with you of, well, when we do this, this week we're working on implantation, and this week we're working on blood quality, and this, you know, like, and I thought, this is amazing that you can have this process of energetically, I guess, almost power packing the experience. And I kind of started to feel the sense of, you're right, I'm not going to lose this baby.
No.
And I almost felt energetically helped in that process of keeping that baby, of it feeling strong, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think I came to you after my 20 weeks going, oh, my placenta's really low. And so I've got 2 weeks before they, say something about my placenta not being in the right place. And you were like, well, I'll just put a needle here and it'll move. And I was like, really? Yep. And you did. And it moved. Yeah. And my first 2 were breech. And so I had come to you with my last 2. So my third was... I think was she breech or transverse? I can't remember now, at the 20 week and the 24 week. And I was starting to really get on edge because by the time I got to 30 weeks, it's hard to turn a baby. But then I had physical turnings with my previous ones, and it was a horrendous experience. And you're like, well, we just wait. It's too early. We don't need to do it. I was like, no, I really need you to do it now.
I remember this.
We have to do it now. And you were like, oh, for God's sake. So you put the bin in and bang, she turned.
Yeah.
And I spent every week going, she's going to be back next time I come, but she's going to be turned again. And she never was. No, and then with my 4th pregnancy, I never had a breech baby, but that was a completely new experience for me.
You.
Yeah. And I just thought, this is amazing to have this a sense of ease that feels beyond the, checking your baby and your blood pressure and your glucose and your, I don't know, whatever else you're signing up for in a system.
Yeah.
To actually, your dog's enjoying our conversation.
It is. Yeah. Shane's just come home probably.
To actually feel like you were on this journey of this is being helped and aided, and week by week, there's so much transformation that happens in 9 months. Oh. And to feel like you have a space to work with that transformation, I thought was incredibly empowering in that process. Yeah. So I honestly feel like every woman should do this because there's so much that happens in the very development. There's so much that happens in that time.
Yeah. And you're, and it's really getting yourself into optimum alignment to be able to facilitate, that development as best you can.
Yeah. And to be a good mum. Sometimes people focus on that too much and they forget about, after you give birth.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you need some energy stores.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. The last 6 weeks of pregnancy, I'm building a woman up and giving her a whole load of stores that when she gives birth, she has some energy. Yeah, because as Western women, we're taught to go, 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 go. In Chinese medicine, the woman, when she has a baby, her feet aren't allowed to touch the floor for 4 weeks. She's supposed to be waited on. I did that with my second. It was heaven.
How did that look practically?
I sat on my bed. I had my big king-size bed and my friends would come over and bring me food and sit on the bed with me. And I had my ex-husband home for 2 weeks and then my mum for 2 weeks. So I basically breastfed, got fed, had showers. It was amazing because with Seb I had postnatal. It was such a shock to me, motherhood. I think I had a fairy tale of it and I watched my patients have a fairy tale of it because, they've wanted it for so long.
Yeah.
And motherhood is fucking hard work. And especially if you have a non-sleeper, which I had. He never slept for more than an hour and a half. And I was just, had no one else around me that had babies. So I was so isolated and I was so depleted. And I wanted to change that for the second one. And, and I watch Western women isolate themselves when they have babies. There's no community anymore. And it's all go, 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 go. And, posting on Instagram that you're fucking fabulous and coping with it and then crying in the corner. It's not good.
I think we find even with this podcast how much it gives voice to that reality so often, you know, that's what so many women actually think and feel.
Well, it's like the week by week of a pregnancy. It's still the week by week of motherhood because you're transforming, your children are transforming, and there's shit that happens in that. Yeah. Yeah. It's the way it rolls.
You really are called to hold space in so many ways in the role that you provide. I was listening to your story, Julie, of your pregnancies, and then I'm thinking, gosh, I can put myself straight back there to coming to see you when I had my miscarriage. And You know, like I just cried and cried and cried, and you cried with me. You know, like and then I think I had retained placenta, and I thought I was losing my uterus, and so I'm calling you, and you're like, sorry, go to the hospital, like, you know, because I was on my way.
Western medicine's really good.
But I was on my way to you, and I'm like, but even to be able to have that practitioner that you so deeply trust, you know, to be able to have those conversations.
And you came into hospital to do an induction with Sylvie, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And I had full trust. I'm like, I know this is going to work. Yeah. And it did exactly what it needed to do.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Do you, back on resistance?
Yes.
Because it can be, I'm just trying to think about, it can be really overwhelming for a woman who's perhaps on this journey, and do they sit down with you and you're going, I really want your husband to give up smoking and come and see me at acupuncture, and I want you to do X, Y, and Z. I wonder sometimes if there's a bit of, well, I can't do that, so I can't do this.
Not with me.
No.
And I'm going to unpack that to teach that to other practitioners. It must be, I don't know, maybe it's the way I hold space for them, or the way I talk to them, or the way I acknowledge how they feel, but I don't get resistance. Yeah. I have what I call the fertility detective. So my brain goes at 1,000,000 miles an hour when someone's in front of me, that I'm working out exactly why they're not pregnant. So within the first consult, I know why they're not pregnant. You know, and some have been 4 years and they don't know why they're not pregnant. So I think when you can present to someone, you know, why they're not pregnant and what the steps are, and be so congruent in yourself because you've done that over and over again, you don't have the resistance. Because I'm so congruent in what I do. I have such faith that what I do works if you do what I tell you to do. Yeah? And some come in, they do the walk of shame when they come in. So they go, oh, I had my chocolate. And I'm like, that's okay. Yeah.
But I think you do also really work with the woman's own values, don't you?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
As much
you
as
have
possible
to respect
Yeah.
people's values and where they're coming from. And it's such an instilled thing in me to be ecological, which I learned from Paul Michel, which is an NLP trainer, and James Sakalis, and Melissa Scott as well. And it was just driven into me that everyone has a different map of reality. And their map's not wrong. It's just different. Yeah? And my pet hate is judgmental practitioners and practitioners that think they know the right way for the patient in front of them, rather than going into their world with them and their value systems and their beliefs and what works for them. Because they're already rigid enough on themselves. Like fertility, pregnancy, they're already rigid enough. They need to just learn to soften and let go a bit.
Are there particular stories that you can bring to mind, the ones that you kind of as a practitioner cling on to and think that's so incredible, it feels beyond me? Those sort of miracle stories, are there ones that really make your heart sing?
Oh, so many of them.
Are there a couple you could share with us?
Yeah, because my receptionist goes, I know when someone's pregnant because I hear you squeal. I always do the squeal and the hug. God, there's been so many. I had a patient, she had come to me, she had done 18 rounds of IVF. Wow. So that's a lot.
So what does that look like? I mean, how many years is that? Because that would be a long time.
That's
right?
a long time. And like a round is, for people that don't understand IVF, because there's IVF slang and people don't understand what that is. So a round of IVF is when you have taken the drugs to stim up the eggs and you've had an egg collection. So that's an IVF round. So that's like $18,000 a piece. So she'd had 18 of them when she came to me, and she used to travel for an hour and a half to see me every week. What amazed me about her is she had no angst about other women being pregnant, because some fertility women, they can't be around other pregnant women, and they can't. She had absolutely no angst in her or jealousy in her about other women. And I remember saying to her, you know, we're going to have to take a year off, or at least 6 months. Like, your body's been through so much. And we went on the journey, and
Did she agree to that?
yeah. And we did 1 round of IVF, and she got pregnant and what's called a chemical pregnancy, which means it takes hold and then it doesn't. That was a bit devastating for her. And then we went for the round again and she had a baby, like after 18 rounds of IVF. But what blew me away about her was her non-resentment. And I think that's what got her pregnant in the end. Her heart and her uterus was so open and not closed down.
What is that? And I don't have the terminology, but when there's been so many rounds of IVF, isn't there a thing where the egg or the sperm start attacking each other, or there's some resistance, or isn't there something about that? No, I'm making that up. Okay.
There's a thing that there's sperm antibodies.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but that's usually when a guy's had a vasectomy and then he has a reversal, the body produces sperm antibodies, so that kills the sperm. Yeah, so then they have IVF because they have to clean the sperm, pick the sperm up in a needle and put it into the egg.
Because it won't make it on its own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's got nothing to do with the number of IVF rounds that you have. Okay. Good.
No.
What about in terms of something like a chemical pregnancy or where chromosomes have gone wrong? What's your views on that?
So chromosomes, there's nothing you can do when, in my world, when the chromosomes go wrong in a pregnancy, that's Mother Nature's way of just saying no. Yeah? And women blame themselves for that. But that's just mothers, because egg and sperm go together and sometimes just shit happens and it just doesn't turn into a baby. And sometimes people are as healthy as and that happens. It's just part of life. It's kind of like natural selection. You know, it's out in the wild and we don't judge them. So chromosomal to me, it happens more often than you realise, and it would happen to women that weren't tracking their cycle. I reckon they'd be pregnant, their cycle's a week late, and they just think they're a week late. What was your other one you were asking about?
Oh, no, I was just interested in, chromosome disorders and, I just wondered if you had any theories on that.
No.
So when you see a woman who's had a history of, I don't know, a chromosome disorder or something, you're not thinking there's something in the body that we're addressing. It's part of the bigger spectrum and we just move forwards and your body will do it again, but not the same process again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if your body's not healthy, it would probably produce a chromosomal not okay. So my thing is always create health first, then create a baby. Yeah.
I'm interested, are there certain commonalities in the women that you see in clinic for fertility? You know, is there a certain, not I'm going to say, is there a type A personality or?
There is type A.
Tell us about what that looks like.
So there's lots of type A's, which I say work like a man, want a baby like a woman. You know, they're doing the 70 hours a week. That is not how to create life. We like yin and feminine, and we've only got a finite amount of energy a day. So if, starting with $100 and you do 70 hours of work, are you coming home with $1 and you're trying to make your body make a baby? That's not going to work. Yeah. Because they're so driven by outside goals rather than inside goals. And some of them aren't even happy in their jobs. And when I give them permission to stop, a lot of them stop or change careers. I just had a patient. She's amazing. I said to her, if you had $1 million, what would you do? Like if money wasn't a problem, what would you do? And she's like, I want to create a retreat center and, just do that. And then a month later she goes, so I bought a retreat center. I'm moving.
Wow.
So she's just moved.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. Because it's so much more. Do
you find that some women almost struggle with the identity crisis that can bring up because they are faced with, this letting go of who they think they were, but who they know that they need to become in order to create what they so desire with a baby? Is that difficult for some women?
Some women, but then I'm like, because I don't want to be judgmental either, because I'm a driven woman. I work at 100 miles an hour. And I still had babies. So it's about balancing your career. So coming down to 30 hours a week, you can still have an amazing career where you're driven, just not driven to depletion.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
So it's almost the check-in with that inner resources of knowing when is enough versus when am I on burnout.
Yeah, and most people don't know because then their adrenaline kicks in and their cortisol kicks in and they're like, they think they've got energy. And when I tell them to, because women don't know how to stop. I go, what do you do? Relax. People go, I go on a 5K run. And I'm like, no. What do you do to relax? What do you mean? Like in our society, we don't know how to stop and stop and do one thing at once. They go, I'll watch a Netflix. I go, cool, with your phone? They're like, yeah. I'm like, so when do you do one thing at once? Because in Chinese medicine, when you chop wood. Do one thing at once. And I think it's in our society, it's not there anymore. People don't do it, especially with the bloody iPhones and iPads, and no one's just sitting back and enjoying a movie and completely relaxing.
Yeah. And largely you get no resistance there either. They just roll with what you're saying.
Yeah, they go, how am I going to do it?
Who are you?
Not really that much resistance.
Is that because, desperation breeds compliance in a way? Like, they're at the point, so many of these women who they've come to you because in some cases you're like their last resort.
Or they've come to me not believing in what I do.
Yeah.
I get a lot of that.
So what does that look like?
Or you're speaking an inner truth. So on some level, our body recognises truth when it hears it,
yes.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it can be someone else who is an experience, a practitioner, someone you have perhaps on a pedestal, or who's showing you a way to something you desire and who says, this is truth.
Yeah.
That you're willing to listen to the permission someone else gives you rather than that you can give yourself.
Yeah. And some women need permission to stop from someone else, which is a little bit sad. I had to learn
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to learn
I had to learn it myself too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a doer.
Yeah.
Like a doer without stopping at all. Yeah. But I get a whole range of patients. Yeah. I don't think you could put them down to...
You can't see common threads in women that experience infertility, so to speak.
No. I attract yang deficient, blood deficient women, which is cold women, so they're not warm enough, their uterus isn't warm enough, or they don't have enough blood. So I attract a certain type in Chinese medicine. Whereas Jan, that used to work for me, she worked for me for 10 years, God love her, she attracted the yin deficient, so people with hot flushes and hot and workaholics. Yeah. So I attract a certain type of woman, but within that they're individual, if that makes sense.
It totally does.
When you think about this idea of, women who can tend to be like all in their head, and that lacking the ability for greater embodiment.
Yeah.
And does that get in the way of fertility?
I used to believe that. And then the universe smacked that out of me. I've worked with a lot of women that have lost children. So I've worked with women who have lost like 3 months old, 1 year olds, 5 year olds, 10-year-olds. And they usually come to me like within the first month. So they are in full-blown grief. They're in grief. There is no heart-uterus connection. They're in their head or just grieving so much, and they're smoking, they're doing everything, and they just want a kid. And usually I say to them, you should come back and see me in a year. But if they don't want to do that, I would choose to go on the journey with them, and they're the ones that get pregnant.
Wow.
And I was like, the first time it happened, I was like, oh, fuck, Kirsten, you're wrong. Like, sometimes maybe it's not about a heart-uterus connection. Sometimes maybe it's about that soul's choose to come in. And we can't play God. We can do all these things to our body, but if that soul doesn't choose to come in, or it chooses to come in whenever it wants to, because, this is my belief system coming out now, which lots of my patients don't know. I have a strong belief that they come in when they want to. And, maybe they've pushed that person to see me to come in. But, I can't play God.
You can show them a path to opening it up for themselves.
Yeah, but maybe they're not meant to have a baby for another 2 years. Because sometimes the healthy ones don't have babies.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, that's annoying. For me, who's a perfectionist, I've had like a handful of patients that have, perfect charts. So when I talk about charts, is basal body temperature charting, which every woman should do once in their life to see how they're
Which is their temperatures.
temperatures.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. You can see your ovulation clear. It's free.
It's so amazing to watch too, just to kind of see how that works.
Yeah.
And why do you think every woman should do that?
So they can learn how their body works. Yeah. It shows your stress in your life. Like your chart will we call it seesaw, so up and down, or more stable. They think they're not stressed, and I look at their chart and it's like, and you discover, because when you're so focused on taking your temperature, looking at cervical mucus, you get in touch with your ebb and flow. You know, because as women, we have hormones. We're going to go internal. We're going to get a little bit grumpy. We're going to get happy. Like it's just normal to have the ebb and flow of emotions. But yeah, back on the ones that are perfect and don't have babies. So they have perfect charts, and then, you know, sperm's good, their timing good, and then I'm like, okay, so maybe their tubes aren't clear. Let's go and get their tubes cleared. Tubes are clear. Maybe, because I'm very much into Western medicine, they can see so many stuff that we can't see, and then I'm like, okay, so maybe they need a laparoscopy. Maybe they've got endo because we can't see endo. There's no endo. And yeah, and they still don't have babies. I never give up on them.
What's your theory?
That the soul's not ready to come in. That's my theory. Until I'm proved wrong. I often get proved wrong. I'm okay to get proved
Don't
wrong.
we all?
Yeah.
Isn't that gross? Just when you think you've got it, bang.
Bang. And then some relationships break up because of it. And then they meet a new partner and they're pregnant in 1 month. You know.
It's such a big dynamic, isn't it? Bigger than any one of us.
It's bigger than any one of us. Yeah.
I really get that.
Yeah.
We were wondering before we wrap up what the 3 best things a woman on a fertility journey can do that you would like them to know.
The 3 best things to stop. To stop like once a day for at least half an hour to an hour where you are doing nothing, like nothing. So you can sit on the couch and read a book, or just give yourself space to do nothing and drop into your body and ask what your body's feeling and what it needs. To basal body temperature chart, like I was saying, that's such an important thing. Even if you're on the IVF journey and you're taking a break in between, to, you know, learn what your body does and to know what a normal period is, which is red blood, 4-day bleed, no clots, no pain, no PMS, no sore boobs. And, you know, to always hope. For me, for a woman to leave the initial consult with hope is my absolute aim. That there is always a reason why it hasn't happened, and there is a journey to go on, and that in the end, you will most likely have a baby, and to have that hope and to hold on to that hope inside rather than looking for it outside.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I get emotional.
I know. We usually have these rapid fire questions, which I realise in hindsight, I'm not sure that we pre-interview forwarded to you. But
No, but let's go.
should we just go?
Should we go?
So if you had a billboard anywhere in the world, any major highway, what would that billboard say?
I am woman, hear me roar.
So perfect.
What does that mean for you?
What does that mean for me? There is such power in being feminine. Like to be in what we call the yin, and to own that and not to try and be masculine.
How does the yin power look different to the yang power?
So the yang power is externalizing. So everything's out and strong, and I have to be aggressive to get things, and it's all raw. Whereas the yin, it's like, you guys can't see me, but the power is from like NTM, which is down here, and it comes up through
In the deep
heart,
belly.
in the deep belly, And it's like an all-encompassing solidness. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I think you did. I'm wondering if there are books that have been really influential to you as a woman and or as a practitioner that you feel like every woman should read, or every woman on a fertility journey of any and all sorts should read.
Fertility Journey is Randy Lewis's book.
Oh, the Way of the Fertile Soul.
The Way of this Fertile Soul, and her second book.
I don't know what that one's
I
called.
lent it to you.
Oh, I better give that back.
I can't remember it, but it's more about Randy Lewis. She's my mentor. She's amazing. And she used to teach, treat, and now she just runs retreats for women rather than about them getting into their heart. And her second book's about getting into your heart. So they're both really, really good books to read. You can just buy them on Amazon.
And usually, I mean, I wonder if we've already overlapped this in some way, but usually what we ask is that obviously in this podcast, as you would already know, we have a huge reverence for the painful moments in our life that have been transformative and from which we've gained the deepest wisdom that have carried us forward. So I'm wondering if there's a time in your life that you consider one of your deepest, darkest journeys that inspired you with your deepest, brightest wisdom that moved you forward.
See, now you got the tears.
We love tears.
We love tears.
Because that's the heart, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
the
it
heart,
is.
and that's the soul that's connected to that. Because wisdom is hard-earned.
Oh.
Wisdom is not just, I've studied and, you know.
I have affirmation.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, Bridge, you and I speak all the time about how much reverence we have for women on any journey because we know how hard a journey is.
Yeah. Yeah. When Felix was 8 months old, I went through a divorce, and a very messy divorce. And it was one of my biggest learnings of my life to be so completely broken, like ripped raw to the very bones. I never thought I would be able to get my heart back together. And I have no family here. My family are in Adelaide, so I was like completely on my own with an 8-month-old baby, and Seb was 3.5 years, and I just opened the clinic.
Wow.
And I discovered the inner power that I never even realized I had, like the well of keep going no matter what. And I learnt that, I think that's when I really learnt that people have different views on the world and different ways of looking at things. And I had to, look after me. But it was I reckon the first 2 years of divorce was fucking horrific. Yeah. And I took a journey of healing my heart. And it took, I met Shane 3 years ago. So it took a long time to heal that and to trust men again. But it gave me, I'm such a strong woman because of it, and such an fiercely independent. And I often say to single mums, like, you can do it. I did it. As a single mum with no family, I created a business that supported me and my kids and bought a house. There's this thing that single mums have to be poor and they can't do things. We, as women, we have this enormous amount of wisdom and power, and when grit, that's it. We can just do what needs to be done. But yeah, such a
Isn't it always, though, to get the deep insight?
But then I still look at it now. I look back and go, I'm so glad I had that experience, because I wouldn't be who I was today. I don't think I'd be as heart connected as I am today with all my friends and family and my patients if I hadn't gone through that myself. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. It's really beautiful to hear another woman's wisdom.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would like to leave our listeners, your listeners, with before we say goodbye?
No, I feel like I've just poured my heart out.
And we're grateful. I think this is one of those incredible spaces where you feel like you're having an intimate conversation with us sitting here. These women have us in their ears and they choose their out time to share that with us. And it's usually a really intimate experience for them as well. Yeah. So I think that is always taken with a huge amount of reverence as well for our listeners. Yeah. And we would love you to let Kirsten know that too. Yes. So, Kirsten, how can we reach you and find you in the world?
So my clinic is Mornington Chinese Medicine, which is on Tantai Avenue. So the website's morningtonchinesemedicine.com.au. If you want fertility, though, it's fertilelife.com.au. I have an ebook there, so I can probably give you listeners some discount. We can set up something.
That would be great. Yeah, we'll put all of that in our show notes. Yeah. That would be really great. Yeah. And we'll put all those links in our show notes as well. Are you on social media too?
Yes. I'm so bad at social media. So the Facebook page is Fertile Life, and I think my Instagram is Kirsten. I'll have to put it in. That's how bad I am at social media.
Yeah, we follow you though. I think you have two. I think you might have a personal one and a business one, didn't you? I think so.
I don't know.
But hey, we will put all those links in.
We'll put them in. I've got to get better at it.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're eternally grateful that you're willing to share your heart and your time with us. And we, as you know, are your biggest fans and adore the work that you do in the world and tell everyone they should go and see you.
We so do.
We really do.
And thank you for the both of you for having me. You are both such beautiful women with such... I just want to give you a hug. That's the way I can explain it.
We like hugs too.
Thank you. We so hope you enjoyed that deep dive with Kirsten on her story and also how ours wrapped into that. Whether you are on the fertility journey or know somebody who is or can relate to some parts of what Kirsten was saying about the journey of a woman into pregnancy and birth. There were so many big themes there for us all.
Absolutely. So once again, we'll pop all links into the show notes themselves. We would love you to connect with Kirsten online as well as us at nourishingthemother.com.au, Nourishing the Mother on Facebook, Instagram and Pinterest.
Yes.
And to connect with you, Bridget.
It's suburbansandcastles.com. And you, Jules?
Is thepleasurenutritionist.com.
Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.